So this is episode 9, The Bridge of The Handmaid's Tale. It is minute 0 to 10. So this episode highlights the final step of a handmaid's journey. We also see the breaking points for a couple of our characters, Janine and Offred, also known as June. So the episode begins with our setup. We see first the opening scene. It's one of the many unsettling religious ceremonies held by Gilead's upper echelon. Aunt Lydia, Janine, her baby, and the rest of the Warren household are all kind of gathered around the bassinet. Warren's quoting scripture, so it feels a little bit like a baptism. We're not quite sure what's going on. It feels innocent enough until we realize that this is the final sacrifice of the indentured handmaid, and Janine is giving up her baby, also known as of Warren. So we see the wife's lack of sympathy here for Janine's situation. Society's kind of encouraged the alienation of the handmaids. They're breeders. It's their God-given and societal duty as fertile women to serve the upper class families of Gilead. This scene highlights the contrast between the handmaid's duty and what the wife sees as her right. It's only in the handmaid fulfilling her duty that the wife can fulfill her own. The wife sees Janine as nothing more than a feral cat, she calls her. She has to deal with in order to get what she wants. At this point, we really don't know what's going to happen to Janine, but based on the scripture that we've heard so far and hear later in the episode, and the kind of reverence that the handmaids are given, as viewers we're kind of led to believe that after fulfilling her duty to society as a handmaid, she's given some kind of relief or reward or freedom. Here too, Janine is under the impression that the duty is done, and as her reward, the commander will spirit her and the baby away, and we later find out that this is not the case. So with the commander's blessing, Janine leaves the mansion, head high and smiling. She sees June and she says, "Don't be sad, he's coming for me." It's clear that June doesn't believe this. I would consider this kind of a turning point for her, for June's character, when she sees Janine's naivety and realizes this isn't going to get better without somebody doing something about it, and in Janine's departure she kind of sees the physical representation that as a handmaid this is all that there is. So the handmaids kind of block Janine in on either side, and Aunt Lydia conducts her through the bridge-shaped human pathway, which brings to mind the title of the episode, The Bridge. Aside from the obvious relation to the episode, which happens later, kind of as a structure, if you think about it, a bridge is a linear path reflecting a handmaid's lack of agency. It's a path that can't be strayed from unless you jump off it, which Janine, at her breaking point, eventually does in order to find escape in death. The literal wall of handmaids that funnel Janine, or of Warren, from the front door and straight into the back of the van symbolizes the linearity of their predicament. They are forced along this linear path with no other choice. The next time we see Janine, she is led up the road to her new family, herded along by Aunt Lydia. The script has bridged these two scenes, so we see Janine walking a single path. It's the only one available to her. It's from one commander's door to another. At the bottom of the steps, she kind of freezes. She's her friends, her lover Warren, and her baby are gone in the blink of an eye. She's across the city from her baby, and Warren's promise is kind of forgotten. So as Lydia leads Janine up the path to her new family, she cites scripture, again, ironically quoting, "If they obey and serve him, they will spend their days in prosperity." This is kind of an immediate contradiction to the situation that Janine is in. Once a handmaid bears a child and has fulfilled her duty, we would think or hope that greener pastures lie ahead, some kind of reward for their sacrifice. Unfortunately, there isn't one. Her only reward for having been repeatedly raped by Commander Warren and finally producing one of Gilead's valuable offspring is to be shunted along to a new family and to repeat the process over again. There is no end to this, no prosperity that is promised in the scripture. Piety isn't rewarded like that. And as Janine comes to that realization, she finally breaks. At this point, also, so does our heroine June, but in a different way. Until this moment, she's kind of one of the myriad faces in an identical line. and she stands out from the crowd for just a moment, and we catch kind of a glimpse of what's to come. She literally steps out from the crowd and confronts authority by speaking to Aunt Lydia and asking about how she is. So it's following Janine's departure that June approaches Alma and tells her she wants to join the resistance, known as Mayday. And at this point in the script, we see June making the same realization that Janine does, though perhaps a little earlier, that there is no end to this. This is where we finally see June kind of taking action. From the beginning of the season, we've seen her beaten down by this new oppressive patriarchy that she's been forced into. She's dared to make kind of a few close friends to make her existence more bearable, but she still holds the hope that she'll be reunited with her husband and daughter, and she's kind of kept her head down. Seeing Janine be led along this branchless path, kind of like a sheep to slaughter, seems to push her into action. Why bother living in a world where there's only one choice? So Lydia's response to June's original confrontation when she steps out of the crowd is, she's tougher than she looks. Let her be an example to all of you. These words are meant oppressively, but they can be taken in more than one way. So Aunt Lydia implies that the women should look to Janine as an example of an ideal handmaiden, but June seems to hear something different. Though she's just one bonneted face in a crowd of many, the words remind us that June too is tougher than she looks. We've seen it in previous episodes. Flashes of this, flashes of outward rebellion. Seeing Janine accept her fate reminds her and us that they've been kind of pushed into docility by their captors. And one of the many reasons why we're glad June is our heroine is that she does stand out from the crowd. She refuses to accept the fate laid out for her and play along with Gilead's oppressive game. It's at this point in the episode that we are kind of entrusted with the promise of the premise that June will fight back, and that's why we want to keep watching.